Obviously, you've had the SMP treatment, but before we get into that, what I'd like to do is try and find out a little bit about your hair loss experience. How did hair loss affect you? And if you could just, elaborate a little bit on the story there, just to let us know how you was feeling while going through hair loss.
Well, I believe that as most men who accept the fact that when you lose your hair, you don't feel good about it. Your hair is kind of your masculinity in a certain sense. And so I started to lose my hair quite late. I was in my late 20s, almost 30s. At first, I was the only one noticing it, but it just like kind of affected my confidence. I'm 60 years old today. So back in the days when I lost my hair, I just didn't like the options that were given to me to fight that hair loss, meaning I tried minoxidil, but then it became difficult because I didn't like the feeling of the greasy feeling on my scalp, and I don't like to be tied up to any commitment for life of having to put something on my head. As soon as I stopped the minoxidil, of course, the hair fell even more. And back in those days, for me, a surgical intervention was out of the question because I didn't like the results. I mean, plus I didn't know when the hair loss would stop, so I didn't want to start to get into hair transplant procedure, do one, and then maybe 5 years later I have to do another one, and then I'm out of donor potential hair, and so didn't like that. So that was not an option. And the technology of hair transplant probably like get better over the year, but so did the space of my hair loss get greater and bigger. So it just wasn't for me anymore. So it's just something that you learn to live with. It just makes you more uncomfortable. I was a young single entrepreneur traveling the world, and I was always like uncomfortable with wondering if people would perceive me as a bold person or not. But you learn to live with it. You just accept it. Sometime when you're uncomfortable, you wear a hat or a cap, which wasn't as fashionable back then either. So the options were very, very limited back then. You lost your hair, you shaved your head. I mean, that's it. And you had to deal with that.
If you enjoyed this clip from the Scalp Culture podcast, be sure to check the links in the description box below to see the full video.